I've manifested everything I ever wanted. If I can do that from 30 to 38 in 8 years, anybody can do this.
Allow yourself to make that shift and change. I think that gives so much licensing for everyone to listen to their own internal voice.
From To Be Magnetic, this is the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacy Phillips.
And your host, Jessica Gill.
As the leading destination for neural manifestation, we dispel the woo-woo in order to help you create real, tangible results based on neuroplasticity, psychology, epigenetics, and energetics. Our goal is to normalize the practice of manifestation and empower you to get into the driver's seat of your life in order to manifest the experiences, relationships, and things that most align with your authenticity. And by pressing play, the process begins.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Expanded. I wanted to kick off today with a deep, intentional breath in. So wherever you are right now, just take a deep inhale. Hold for a second and exhale. Take a second and just kind of check in with your body. Feel any tension. Maybe you want to move your shoulders or hips side to side, loosen out energy. And I know a lot of you have been talking about some big tests that have been coming up, especially after the challenge. The universe is really saying, like, are you sure you're on the other side of this limiting belief? Are you sure you're ready for this next level? And I want to just remind you guys that tests are a good thing. They feel hard. They feel challenging. They are going to make you experience a myriad of emotions, and you can handle them. And it means you are getting closer to your manifestation. See the tests as opportunities to put into practice all the neural architecture work you've been working on, all the empowering beliefs that you've been doubling down on, soothing your inner child, connecting with that part, validating your needs, knowing that you're worthy to ask for the things that you want. How can you approach your tests with that in mind? From a loving, empathetic, but firm in your worthiness reaction. Obviously, you can use any of our regulate DIs, our unblock DIs, trigger DI, or our inner child, or our validation DI. So good if you're being tested. But just want to throw that reminder out there because I feel like it's coming up a lot for you guys. Also, our summer challenge will be available until September 2nd at 11:59 p.m. PST. You will still have access to all of the deep imaginings even after the challenge closes, but if you want access to any of the sequencing of everything, the journal prompts, be sure to go in there and utilize them before Labor Day weekend or September 2nd. And don't forget to leave us a little voice note of any Kismet manifestations that have come through or big manifestations that have come through during the challenge. We're going to do a little mini process episode to kind of give you guys that expansion and that motivation to see it through, because there have been some really powerful manifestations that have come through for people. We want to share them, break them down. So check out the link in the show notes, record a little voice note for us, and help expand the community. Today's episode is sort of like a life catch-up with Lacy and I. We are celebrating Expanded's 6-year anniversary, which is so cool and so powerful, and we would not be here today without all of you guys. We love you so much. We're so grateful for tuning in with us every single week. We feel like we are truly co-creating and co-manifesting all these episodes with you, and we're so excited for what's to come on the podcast in the next few years as well. But we're going to kind of dive into some thoughts and insights on the growth of the podcast. We're going to share some life updates, biggest manifestation lessons that Lacy and I have learned over the last year, our current beauty go-tos, what we have on our nightstand, Lacy also shares her birthing story of her first child, which is so beautiful and expansive. We've been getting asked this question forever, and it is a really, really expansive story. And she also, since we recorded this episode, had the birth of her second child, and that is on her Instagram highlights. So you can listen in to the first birth story here, and then if you want to check out the second birthing story, that's on her Instagram highlights. It's just going to be a really good episode. We answer some questions from you guys. It feels like a little fireside chat, hang out, catch up with everyone. So I hope you enjoy, and let's dive in.
And now a word from our partners.
If you have not heard of armra colostrum, let me tell you why it has quickly become my absolute favorite superfood that I've been taking on a daily basis. Armra is an unrivaled nutrient powerhouse. It has 400 plus pure bioactives that are natural molecules that promote healthy function throughout the body. They include a host of protective antibodies, prebiotic compounds, strengthening peptides, amino acids, trace minerals, immunoglobulins, tissue growth factors, antioxidants, and other natural immune factors that work synergistically to enhance your health. This superfood is actually the first piece of nutrients that we receive, that all mammals receive from their mothers within 48 to 72 hours after giving birth. It is that nutrient-dense supplement to really help our bodies thrive, function, and grow to the best of our abilities. There are 5,000 plus studies on this stuff that really show at any age, taking and ingesting colostrum can help our bodies function on the highest level. Now, I started taking this over the summer and pretty much noticed results immediately. Bloating went down, digestion got better, and my immunity seemed to be a lot stronger. I would come across people with colds or sicknesses thinking I'd be coming down with it in a few days, and it seemed to have really supported my innate immune system. It is completely sustainably sourced from a family-owned dairy farm. They only use the surplus of colostrum, and they're able to remove any unnecessary compounds from the colostrum, like casein and fat, which is part of the reason that some dairy can be inflammatory to some people. I'm someone that's very sensitive to dairy, and anytime I have real dairy, I always wind up taking a lactate, but using colostrum, I've never had any issue with it at all. And in fact, it seems to protect me just as well as the dairy pill against some of the dairy that I eat. And part of the reason that that is happening and why I feel like it's been so effective is because it's helping to rebuild your barriers. We talk about having a really strong barrier protection in the lining of our mouth, our sinuses, our lungs, our gut. Our barriers house 80% of our immune system. It's the first line of defense against everything that we inhale and ingest from the outside world. So when you take armra close to eating, inflammatory foods or being in an atmosphere where the air quality isn't as optimal, your barriers are tightening to help protect you from everything else going on. So this is one of my absolute favorite superfood products out there on the market. I think it is fantastic. I really see results from it. Feel free to ask me questions if you're curious about it. And we have a discount code for you guys. You can use the code TBM for 15% your first order. Again, that is code TBM for 15% off. And if you're interested, you can get the subscription. That way you won't ever run out and you can always have that immune support.
All right, on to the episode.
So this is our 6th year of Expanded. This is crazy.
Isn't that amazing? That's like mind blowing to me, actually, especially where we started versus where we are. But what's fascinating is even from the beginning, the precipice for even starting the podcast, I never wanted a podcast, just like I never wanted a book, is that it was the number one thing people were asking for. And so finally we were like, okay, we have no idea what we're doing, but let's start this. And even from the get-go, we had such a dedicated listenership. So thank you for whomever's been here for the ride, who's jumped on in the middle, and who's with us right now. It's just, for me, it's been so amazing watching something that we never had an intention to like make a big deal or grow. Obviously, when you came on, you naturally as a Capricorn, you can't help it and you're into this and you love it. It's just been so magical watching something that was so organic, has always been so organic, even down to the way that we even allow partnerships and working with people, and sharing their things. Like we just really approach it so differently, so ethically. It's just been a really cool thing to watch something be such a vehicle that obviously has stuff to do with you, especially now, Jessica, and a little to do with but really to do with the universe wanting to get this message through. That's been the coolest thing to watch. So I just love having this little marker to reflect. What about you?
Completely feel the same way. And I feel like the podcast has evolved with the community. I even remember before I was working for TBM, listening into Expanded, and that was such a portal. Like it was all your expanders and people in your world and all these really interesting people who had different backgrounds and spiritual stories and all this stuff. And I was like, what is this? What is this person? Who is this? Like it was such a introduction into this world in a new way. And it feels like everyone like sunk their teeth in. They were like, tell me more, went down all the rabbit holes. And they're like, okay, cool. Wait, what's the manifestation again? Let's go back to that. Now that we learned all we can learn here, teach us about manifestation. We need to know that. And I think even from there, now it really truly feels like the community and the listeners are manifesting the episodes. Totally. Because the amount of time people are like, this is exactly what I needed. I put the podcast on at the end of my day or at the beginning of my Friday, and I got the exact message from the universe that I needed. That's how I see it having had evolved, where now the teachings, the reminders, the wisdoms, the witticisms, any of that stuff that needs to come through and connect to someone is just channeled through the universe right to the listeners. And it's just cool to be like, awesome. Like I'm so excited to help bring that into the world. And it's just so beautiful.
And I think that you and Allie on the team and Angel on the team do such a remarkable job listening to the community. Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful resource having the community group inside the pathway, because you can really like dig in and see, okay, what are the big themes that are coming up here? Oh, people aren't getting this particular point. We need to teach on that, and it's really beautiful to have that sense of voice from, the whole reason why we have this company, that, and then your Instagram.
Yes. I get a lot of new insights from the Instagram. I feel like I want to have I wish I had like a little document on Instagram to like pin all the like requests for things. I'm like, okay, they're saying this. All right, there's at least 30 of these. So we have to do something here. Like, yes. Always thinking about it.
Well, you're really letting it shine. You're just killing it on here. And yeah, not only from myself, but I can tell you from how many downloads do we have at this point?
We're almost at 30 million, which is
insane.
Crazy.
We all thank you. Thank you, Jessica, for making this have legs and making the legs walk and continuing to walk, because had any of it rested on me whatsoever, this podcast would have been dead after 2 years. So super grateful.
Oh, yeah. But at the same time, Lace, you channeled all of this work and spent those formative years like really in the trenches to perfect it and get it to the place where it's a whole new language. It's literally a whole new language and way for people to connect to each other. So none of this would be anywhere without all of your work too. So we all thank you as a community too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So one of the things we were talking about is how much expansion we get from the process episodes, like understanding the takeaways. Definitely your wisdoms, Lacy, and your reflections are so powerful. Like even as you share your story of different elements, I'm like, whoa, okay, I learned that about myself, even though it's a totally different dynamic or something. So we wanted to touch in the biggest teachings each of us have learned over this past year in our manifestation work. So Lacy, first of all, what's your current authentic code? And what manifestation lessons, shifts, energetics has presented over the past year, and how have you integrated or learned them, or been like, oh my gosh, I learned about this about myself, or I don't know, what has come up for you?
Yeah, so authentic code is still the same. I revisited it during the winter challenge, Totally, absolutely the same, which is family memories, like family experiences. The next being design. So loving designing spaces, real estate. We're still like so in the thick of it. Even just this year, like Max and I are like, have our sights so set on trying to find a triplexy kind of situation in Topanga specifically, because where I'm at right now is I really want to create some spaces that are long-term, not just Airbnb rental situations, but like long-term old hunting surf shacks. So I've been calling that in a lot. I'm like, I just want stuff for the community that's just cool and fun. And so we had one pop on the market. The guy is completely out to lunch. He had to take down the listing. Like it needs so much work. It's so dilapidated. The price he wants versus what he'll really get. Like he didn't even get one offer aside from us. That was obviously a low ball. And then another friend's house, which was such an expander, she let us know she's selling it, a good friend in the Canyon. And so we like broached her, and she had already brought on a realtor, and we're like, let's just do this through our lawyer. They I think have to go through the process with their broker, or else the broker would have sued them. So we're like, just get back in touch if you don't get what you want for it. It's funny how these things are popping up, the expanders and the expander tests, and they all happen to be zoned as like triplexes, like exactly what we're calling in. So that's still my second, design and real estate. The third being investing. Still a huge one for us. Max and I geek out and are constantly, he mostly, because I'm like immersed in baby land and kid land, but mostly he's always trying to find all of the cool, fun strategies and all the stuff, you know, and so I love learning that through him. And then the last being self-care spirituality. So it's exactly the same. That was really interesting to find out during the challenge that I'm just right where I've been for a while, which feels nice. It feels like I'm really in my authentic self. And I'm sure as the kids get older, it will change and shift. So there's that. And I would say that the biggest realization that I had, to be honest, came in summer of this year, which kind of parlays into other stuff. It was around, I think it was our break in July. We always take a break in July. And I think we happened to be up in Mariposa at the river. And I had this moment where I was like, wow, I've manifested everything I've ever called in, everything I ever wanted, like pining for in my 20s, my young 20s, everything that I like dreamed of, hoped of, cried on the floor for, walked through the mud and the rock bottoms, you know, in each of these categories, they were here. And actually, this was, when I figured this out, this was more in September, because I had already transferred the baby. I was pregnant and I was like, holy shit, this is like a completion. It's like a chapter. And it made me reflect, and I'll just be transparent, where that's why, beyond like being so immersed in family land, that I don't feel I'm as present like in the company and stuff like that, because my main motivation ever for putting out this work was to manifest myself. And I was teaching through my self experiences, through my channeling, through my patterning that I was figuring out, that also seemed to be working for, you know, all these other people that were doing it. And I had that realization where it's like, how magical that I could cultivate that from the ages of 30 to 38. If I can do that from 30 to 38 in 8 years, anybody can do this. And that was like a really beautiful realization, that I manifested all of those things I was crying on the floor for at 20 in 8 years. I'm like a very stubborn person. Imagine if you're not like that. You could do it so much quicker. That's been settling in and grounding in so many ways. And it's also been, anytime we're approaching the company, or like, we probably haven't talked about it a lot, but finally the universe put together all of the pieces to put together a book, because I never wanted one, as you know. And I said, universe, if you want us to put a book out there, you're going to have to do A, B, and C. And it did A, B, and C within like a month. And I was like, okay, we'll do a book. Sounds good. But even like approaching the book and stuff like that, it's really beautiful for the first time to not be approaching it all from a place of needing to achieve, perform, whatever. It's from a place of relaxation in my worth. There's still stuff channeling. There's still stuff coming through, and there always will be as we grow and go through things. And as the company has incredible insight like you or Janelle and all of that, like it's still evolving. It's still incredible. But yeah, it's just been a lot of that reflection of those elements. And then I would say The second biggest pattern that the universe has really been cementing in me is throughout the time that I ever started to delegate or have any form of a team, both in the company and personal, I had no idea what I was doing. And I grew up in like a very codependent environment. I've never studied leadership. I have no idea of management or anything like that. So it's been a real load and bag of lessons since 2017. And then, of course, when I had Teddy, there was a whole personal element of having support around me, not being able to keep up adrenally. If I want to be a conscious mom, it's what I've needed. And like I always go back to the really silly contractor scenario of elevating out of ones who take advantage and are always late, and finally like manifesting in this contracting team in Mendocino that's the most professional, incredible relationship I've ever had, that seems to be parlaying all around within the company, within my personal life. With this baby, it seems like the final stamp has been like, you are only going to have people around you that are extremely nourishing, capable, skilled, no drama. It's a really wonderful, energetic exchange. That's been my biggest journey in this last year, I would say. And it's funny because I think the first allowed for the second. Like when I could really take in, I've manifested everything wait, like what? Why am I still dog paddling? Like I needed to realize that to stop dog paddling and to start really trusting the universe. And that has allowed for this team situation all around. The proof is in the pudding. Like even in the company is doing, even from summer of last year, unbelievably better all around functioning. Everyone's functioning. It seems like everybody's happier. You know, we've brought on wonderful elements that feel like we're not shooting from the hip anymore. You know, it's just like really magical. And then same in my personal environment. So I would say those were my biggest. What about you?
I feel like there can be periods of feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so many, like even thinking of the energy of the company last year, not last summer, but like last year before that, for me personally, because I am like, I'll handle it all. I'll take it all. I'll take it on. And then at some point, I think everyone just did their unblocking and then something shift. And then it was like, oh, we can do this with ease. We can have all the things we want in it. We can say no here and here. Like it just felt so much more easeful. And it's not like anything happened. You know, it was like just this natural up level. Energetically, it felt different. Even my own sort of journey within that, I think my biggest theme over the past year has been this understanding with control and how I try to control in order to feel safe. If all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, then I can have pleasure and play and fun and all the things, but I can't let myself do that until everything is taken care of. And it's also hard because I'm someone that like constantly has ideas, but that could be better and that could be better and we can fix this and we could, like, that list doesn't get any shorter. There's always something new to do. There's always more to do, whether it's at work or in my home or self-development stuff I want to work on. The list of wanting to grow and get better, it's not like you check off all the things on the list and you're like, okay, now I can just chill. It was this realization that yes, I can see all the things and I can continue to be ambitious and want to accomplish all of these things, but I need a balance and flow in it. It can't be boom, 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 nonstop. I have to be like, that was a success. Let's sit with the success. Let's enjoy the success. And then we can go back. It's a lesson I've learned in pieces over the years, but this year it was like, we need to stop this pattern because even though you've let go of it a little bit, you're still sitting in it. And I needed to really ground into, okay, what does balance look like? You know, how can I invite that in and lean into that more and let go of things that maybe I'm like making a big deal in my head that aren't really a big deal? How can I be in more ease and surrender with things? And I also have like sort of this foresight that this is going to be sort of the preparation for eventually having a family and kids. Like it's preparing my nervous system now of like, you need to make some spaciousness in here and this needs to be more, you need to drop into your feminine a bit more because I can be very masculine with everything. So kind of toying between those two energies. And it's funny because the biggest thing as I started manifesting in the December challenge was our new home, up-leveling relationship with Daniel, what marriage will look like, our wedding venue, my personal routines, everything to do with home life. It's also hitting my astrology too this year, which is interesting that I manifested in there. But I think that play of control came up really big this past year of like, what if we didn't get so intense with it? Can it actually be better than the mind thinks it needs it to be?
What I love about that too is it's the ultimate surrender. Like in manifestation, you're always hearing the rhetoric of like, and then just let it go, surrender. But we've done a whole episode, I think, in the past of what that energetic is really means. And it means that you're fully unblocked and fully expanded. That's the only time that just let it go and surrender, your things come through. And I've been having to do a lot of that lately. Like the moment the new year hit, all of our security blankets have been taken out from under us, Max and I, from like, I think I write about this in one of the emails of the challenge, but it's like tenants just gave their notice, or this person's transitioning and this person's transitioning. And it's like, I think it's definitely, the baby initiating the environment that it wants, but it's just been me being like, I'm expanded enough, I'm unblocked enough, just surrender. It's that control thing. And both you and I had to have a tremendous amount of control in childhood and being parentified. And it's just pretty magical, I think, to ease into it, let that be more and more and more. And to me, the universe continues to show that better things show up when I do that, when I'm not strangling something, which is still deeply challenging for me.
Yeah. When that security blanket stuff drops off, there's like the nervous system impulse to go down the rabbit hole, like, oh God, what does this mean for this? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, halt. Like the episode, rejection is redirection. And not all of the rug getting pulled up from under you is necessarily rejection, but how can you see this pivot, this change, this sudden change in your life that you didn't plan be a perfect redirection? And it was funny on like a micro level, Daniel's been playing with this energy too. And he's actually way more adaptable when things and plans shift. And I am like very type A. Even with travel, we had to go to Vegas for his aunt's 70th birthday earlier in the year. And we had Uber there, and there were all these times to get there and travel times. And I was like, we have to order the Uber by this moment because we have to get to the party at this moment and blah, 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 blah. We're not going to get to see your brother's kid at that time. And I was getting kind of worked up and stuff. And he was like, what if there's something else special because the Uber's taking long and you have to do this instead? Just be open, like see what else is coming. And it turned out that because of the timing of things, we got to see his brother's kid by ourselves, and we were the only one there, and we had tons of one-on-one time with him, and it was so special and beautiful. And he's like, see, like we wouldn't have had that if we were on your tight schedule. Let's just be at ease with whatever is showing up for us, because maybe it's better than we anticipate.
I love that. I love it.
That's been a big, okay, let's calm the nervous system. Let's relinquish control. We're good.
And let's be in the present and in the flow. It's really hard. And ultimately, all spirituality is just, that's all it is. It's just trying to teach you that, all of us that. But I've always found that based on the way that my brain works and how I was raised and my history, like I've had to address some stuff to trust that experience. And so it's beautiful to finally be in a place now where we can start to trust that. It's a really good reminder for everybody listening as well.
And it's like you can constantly go back to it. It's like even if you fall off or you have a moment where that doesn't happen, like how can you just try to incorporate that more and more into like those little, even waiting for an Uber, how can you make that a moment of surrender instead of control if that is your block or something you're challenging with? So I'm sure you've heard the benefits of red light therapy. It can improve wound healing, reduce stretch marks, fine lines, wrinkles, age spots, improve facial texture, improve scarring, sun-damaged skin. And it really works by stimulating the mitochondria in our cells. When it does that, it helps stimulate the collagen production, giving our skin its structure, strength, elasticity, and improves fibroblast production, which helps create the collagen and all the connective tissue that builds our skin, increases blood circulation, reduces inflammation in cells. And two incredible products that I've been using lately, if you've followed me on Instagram, you've seen this crazy looking mask that I've had on, and it is the Bond Charge Red Light Face Mask. It is such an incredible product. It has red light and near infrared light directly positioned on top of your face. So you can just hook it on, put the Velcro in the back, and its little controller you can pop in your pocket and walk around and go about your day. You can do it while you're doing the dishes or your morning routine or meditating, and you just need it on for 10 to 20 minutes, 3 times a week minimum to see those significant results. I notice the weeks that I am consistent with it, I can notice a more glowing skin texture. It brings color back to my face. It helps support some of those fine lines, especially around my eyes and my forehead. And it's just such an incredible beauty hack. They just released a brand new product to go along with it, the Red Light Neck and Chest Mask. So if you are someone that is looking down at their phone all the time, which I'm very guilty of, and you start to get those lines around your neck, or if you have any sun damage or wrinkles or lines on your chest, it covers that exact area. I also just love every product by Bond Charge because it is so science-backed. It is the lowest EMF you can possibly get, and it is the most effective and strongest wavelengths, the most optimal wavelengths that you can use in red light therapy. It truly is best in class and best in industry in face masks out there, and priced so well. Some other red light face masks out there are more than double in price. And you can get 15% off if you use code MAGNETIC. That's all caps MAGNETIC, and get 15% off your Bond Charge Red Light Face Mask or your Bond Charge Red Light Neck and Chest Mask, or any other biohacking red light products from Bond Charge. Again, that's code MAGNETIC, all caps MAGNETIC, for 15% off. Check out the link in the show notes or go to bondcharge.com. And now we have a lot of questions from the community. We like to do these AMAs. Yes. Okay, Lacy, number one question, your skincare routine. What are you doing? You look fabulous. You're glowing. Tell us all the details.
It's funny because I don't feel like that in real life, but somehow it's transpiring through digitally. But I would say, what's the big difference? So skincare, I'm doing everything that I was doing on the podcast episode we had with Christina from, Marie Veronique, and we can link that below and you can listen. I'm still so grateful that we recorded that episode because I think it's like a Bible for people who want to age gracefully. So I'm definitely still using those products for actual like skin regimen. And then I have a great Instagram video on my feed, my personal feed, where I talk about aging gracefully and what I'm doing. I haven't been doing it in pregnancy, of course, but I do microcurrent now every 2 weeks with Tess at Take Care here in LA. I don't do any fillers or any of that stuff. Always tempted. I just know my body's too sensitive for neurotoxins. So I don't touch it, but I try to do all of the other stimulation, natural products out there that can help me as much as possible. So the other thing we started incorporating, Tess and I, is doing the vampire facial. She does a really non-invasive one compared to like people will do them once or twice a year, really deep, and their face is all red and crazy. We actually do them every 6 weeks, but not very deep. And we do them with either stem cells or we do them with, Max is using peptides. Max is like doing a lot of peptide injections. He's into all the biohacking stuff. And I think I might start that
Max.
when I know I'm like later down postpartum. I'm down with all like the beauty ones. But so we do the peptides with it. That's what she's using the needle for. So we do that every 6 weeks. And beyond that, a lot of red light therapy. What else? Bean Protocol, I think, does just naturally make the skin glow because you're eating so many fats and then you're pulling all the toxins out of your body. And then I do a lot of heliotherapy, so in the sun, and I think that really makes you glow too. Who even knows if this is true, but to me, it's like a firefly. It's like giving you infrared sun energy that, is so glowy. I started to watch some videos and learn, because I'll be 40 next year, some contouring techniques whenever we're on here, because I couldn't fucking stand the way that I looked on these clips. And the one product that I've loved the most is, because I use only natural makeup.
Yeah, share your makeup too, because that was another big question.
I can see that this is exploding in my makeup bag, which is so constant always. But how do I say this, Elia? I love their liquid light serum highlighter. It's really, for my skin tone, naturally just makes it look so luminous. And so I love that. And then I've just done, like, for 40s, I've learned how to contour with some bronze. Everything I get at the detox market still, like, I'm an OG, you know, they started working with me when I was a blogger 10 years ago, and I don't know of any other natural beauty stores out there. So I get all my stuff there. But I would say the two things I've added in to our recordings are the highlighter I just said. I put it all over my face, and then I do a little contour. I do a little eyeliner to make my eyes pop now, and lipstick. That's a big deal, making the lips pop, because I was just looking really faded. I would say that those are the big skin things. I also think something that contributes to when my skin looks dull versus good, as well as teeth. Everybody will ask me, it's a common thing, and I don't even think my teeth are that white, but they're like, how are your teeth so white? I take chlorella every day, just that traditional sun chlorella. You can get it at Erewhon, you can buy it online. I take that every day as a binder. And it's solely out of vanity, because it makes my skin feel bright and my teeth really white. So I don't know what it's binding to and taking out of my body that does that, but that would be the last big thing. What about you, Jessica?
You know what's funny too, though, with the chlorella? I remember the very first time I met you at Topanga. I think I came with like Lila or something. I was blown away with the vibrancy of your face and your eye color. It shows through camera, but I was like, whoa, the whites of her eyes are so white. The blue is so blue. The colors were just so gorgeous. And I really do feel like anytime I've taken chlorella or any sort of like green drink or something, I'll notice, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that looks good.
Yeah, because even your eyes and teeth are like 10 times wider, I feel. They're so vibrant. So you must be doing something.
That's Crest White Strips, which is
okay.
Probably toxic.
To each their own. Tomato, you know?
Not quite the organic version of it, but you know, I drink a lot of coffee, so I needed a little booster there.
And what's yours? What's new? What do we need to know about? I feel like you're so in the trenches with cool shit, because you're constantly working with our partners, and we only partner with really fucking cool people who have cool products. Like, we never partner for money. We never give a shit about that. What is really cool that we want to consume ourselves or have ourselves or try ourselves?
Yeah, so I really love Bond Charge's face mask. I use that 3 times a week, and they have a little wand. I've started to use it as like a gua sha almost. So like before, I'll kind of like loosen the lymph here and then just run it down my chin and just move the lymph around. And it is crazy how wild, whether it's traditional gua sha or just like even with your hands massaging or something, or even using that little red light wand, you start feeling the fluid moving very quickly. It makes such a difference. So I'll do that. I'm in between skincare routines right now. I've been using, Osea just released an evening sort of natural retinol cream that's like really rich and moisture rich. I've been loving it during the day even. I don't know if I'm supposed to be using it that much, but I've been using it to just moisturize, really sink in more moisture in the skin. I want to get Marie Veronique, like this vitamin C serum, because whenever I'm out in the sun, and I know now moving into summer months or being in summer months, I get sunspots. They'll start popping up really quickly. I'll get freckles all over my nose and cheeks and stuff. And so I need to make sure I love being in the sun. So like, how can I combat that with some other serums there? So I need to figure out which ones I want to get there. But I don't put a lot on my face. And I think that's part of what probably helps it, except for when we're filming. I'll put a little like under eye concealer. I think I just got RMS, which is like a clean one, but I don't really put a lot on. I don't use a foundation or like any of that kind of stuff. So I think it just like lets it breathe more. And then genetics is probably, it's not the best answer, but I look at my mom and my grandma and I'm like, thank you. Thank you.
Your mom, her skin is so beautiful. When I got to meet her in New York, I was like, she's so vibrant and beautiful.
Oh,
I'm
shout
like,
out, Lisa.
wow. I'm like, geez, you're lucky. You have a good road ahead of you.
Yes.
I still, even like moving into my 40s and having things really starting to show up now, I still can't get into the whole foundation and concealer. It's just too much work, you know? I'm like, if I can just rub on a highlighter and that makes me look bright, I'm here for it. But I find, I don't know if you feel the same way, I just slap on oil throughout the day and that always has like the sun-kissed, beautiful, healthy, glowy look. So
Mhm.
I don't even wear mascara because I'm like, the amount of oil I wear, no matter what type I try, it's always running. So it's like, I'm the road less traveled always. I can't get into the high maintenance.
The Living Libations for both that's really good. Their sea buckthorn oil for like a summer face one is really good. And their mascara is great.
Yes.
It layers, it stays on pretty well. I really like their mascara too.
I will tell you straight up, we have such a good episode with the founder of Living Libations, who I love so much, Nadine Artemis. I'm obsessed with her. Her most targeted product, which are so effective, are hyper pure essential oils. So I'll go through this period. They're the best fucking oil on the planet. They will make you look so beautiful. I'm telling you, I love their best skin ever for sure. Like what you were talking about, the sea buckthorn one, but it's their soothsayer serum. Nothing has ever made me glow like that. When I wear that oil, it's shocking how beautiful my face looks. So
I
we'll link
love it.
that. Not sponsored, not
Yeah.
gifted, especially in the summertime. When I put that on and some shea butter over it, I'm just baffled by how pretty my skin is. But they actually sent me a little gift back in the winter. They sent me their Tahitian vanilla, and it is the most, not only does your skin look unreal, but the smell is like
Oh,
the most pleasure on the planet. So if somebody's looking for two oils that are gonna, because their whole line of best skin ever, I think across the board all looks beautiful on someone's skin if you handle oil really well. Sometimes people who are very acne prone and stuff, too oily can be clogging for their skin. But I'm somebody who's like the driest person in the world. I reapply oil on my face probably 6 times a day with, a hydrosol and stuff. That those two oils are just remarkable. I mean, remarkable.
so good. So I love them. They're so good and so clean and so many products.
So
Anything in
many.
oral care too. Like so cool.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
got you covered.
And then the other biggest question we got was talk about any pregnancy updates, things you're doing for this birth. And by the time this episode's air, you'll already have had the little one,
Yeah.
which is so beautiful and precious. But for, catching everyone up, any specifics on birthing plan, what pregnancy was like this time around, differences between Teddy's pregnancy and then the next one's pregnancy, like how is everything going there?
Yeah. So I feel so lucky to have discovered the Bean Protocol before going into, just to catch people up, I have a whole fertility episode. We can link that below. And you can hear my fertility journey. It took us 5 years to finally get pregnant. I was really opposed, just again, how sensitive my body is to doing IVF. And then I discovered the Bean Protocol through Unique Hammond. We have a wonderful episode with her, as well as the founder, Karen Hurd. We have a great episode on that. And that really put me in a healthy state and made me intuitively confident about doing IVF because I knew I could detoxify those hormones out of my body. I was a very successful round of IVF. We got incredible amount of embryos. It was like high COVID. I started it like right at the top of COVID. So we actually couldn't transfer for months. I wanted an Aquarius, but we ended up transferring for an Aries, which I'm so grateful, like we talked about in surrendering, that it was a great thing. So my pregnancy with Teddy was so easy. I mean, the first trimester is always really hard for me. It was hard with Teddy, it was really nauseous and tired, the norm. But after that, complete smooth sailing. And I did Bean Protocol the entire pregnancy, postpartum, and have continued into this experience. And so not only was the pregnancy completely easy on my body, and I do really think it had to do with the Bean Protocol because you're detoxifying everything out of your body, but pulling all of this excess hormones that you're carrying in pregnancy. And so the birth, I don't think I ever really shared it on a podcast, but with Teddy, I like to share this with friends. Anytime friends get pregnant, because while I was pregnant, I was practicing a tremendous amount of mind over matter for the birth. And it was so hard for me to find truly positive birth stories anywhere. And people want to really share their traumatic birth stories, which I totally have so much compassion for and holding space for, because we each have our own journey. But I was like, I'm going to be programming unbelievable birth stories during this process. And it really paid off. So I felt like Topanga was too far for me for my first birth to have a home birth. And so I have the most like kick-ass doctor. He's like an old school, super loved doctor, Dr. Paul Crane. You had seen him probably on the Kardashians if you ever watched that. He's who birthed North and everyone else in the world. And he's like a mad scientist, but he's basically like an old midwife. He will do home births for you. And so I went with him over the midwives I had met with, because I'm a big wussy pants and I knew the probability of me transferring was probably pretty high. And I'm like, why am I paying for a midwife and a doctor if I could transfer? And then I have my amazing doula that I'm using this time around too, Patty of Uma Mama. And so the birth, what he suggested, he said, just get a suite at this really fancy hotel that's 3 blocks from Cedars and do it there. Like if Topanga feels far for you, we can do it there. And that's exactly what we did. We rolled up and my cervix was opening and it was like a week over. He didn't care about the week over. He just was like, let's try it. You feel like you're there. So he did a membrane sweep, and I had listened to Mandy Moore's birth on a podcast that we all share the same chiropractor. And she like got to take a nap and go to bed. And this was at 4 p.m. I did the membrane sweep and I pulled up to Topanga at 6 p.m. That was in Beverly Hills, and my water broke. And I was like, oh, here we go. Okay, we're going in for this. And so we show up at this like fancy hotel, pretending like we're just staying for the night. I'm like so pregnant, having contractions, carrying a birthing ball. Like it's ridiculous.
Isn't it like super common though, this hotel, that they like do that? Like they know like this floor is like...
I wonder if they're in on it, because I know his patients do it there a lot if you're like a deep West Sider. So I'm curious how into it they are, but it's hilarious because he's coming back and forth from Cedars because he has another person having a birth at Cedars. And then my doula came in and out and it's like looking like we're just doing drugs in there, really. Like they're coming in the middle of the night, like bringing stuff. And so my birth was everything I had practiced mind over matter. It progressed quickly, easily. It probably would have been a 12-hour birth. But right when I was transitioning at 7 and 8, I had this moment that I got out of the shower. I had been in the shower for 2 hours and it was so soothing to be in the shower. I was over a birthing ball and I had this moment where I was like, I'm doing this out of ego. This isn't my authentic self. This isn't our birth story. And I don't fucking want to be doing this anymore. And I'm somebody who doesn't have a GP. I haven't had an antibiotic, like I don't even have doctors. I'm that kind of person. But there was something so soothing to me and curious about me, like wanting to transfer and go get an epidural. I was like, I want to do that. Like I actually, a rebellious Aquarian, that there's some, and she was doing fine, like during the whole birth, that I was like, I know it's going to be totally fine. It's the only toxic thing we will have done throughout this pregnancy. And so we transferred and that slowed it down a tiny bit, but overall it was a 16-hour birth. Vaginal, no tearing. So I like to share that a lot with friends or anybody, because I know for me, it was really hard to find positive birth stories. And I just really want to share with people that everyone has their own experience, and some people have extremely traumatic experiences. And I really want to honor that too, because I've had friends who have had just absolutely traumatic births, and there's nothing more violating, painful, hard to recover from. But I also think there's a world where it's really important to share really positive birth stories, because that also gives a lot of expansion to people. So it was an incredibly fast birth. Probably would have been 12 hours without an epidural. Very straightforward. And then, yeah, she came right out. And then, of course, another resource in LA is that we use the pediatrician, Dr. Jay Gordon. He actually has a service where he'll come and sign you out of the hospital. So you never have to go into out of labor. You can go into,
Wow.
yeah. So we left after 3 hours. So it was like the perfect home birth where you got a little bit of an epidural and then got to take a nap, have a baby, and then go home. So it was really nice.
I think it's so powerful that you shared also about the epidural, because I think a lot of people in the wellness world are so afraid of it. But I think that's the power of listening to your body and your intuition. Like your body knows what your body can handle and what's right for you. And don't feel like there's any one way that you absolutely should do the epidural or you absolutely shouldn't, or your birth should look that way or this way. Like you get to design it however you want, however your body feels good. And just like you were listening so intently in that moment, like, okay, yeah, I didn't want it. But then in that moment, no, this is silly. I'm going to do this. This feels right. Allow yourself to make that shift and change. I think that gives so much licensing for everyone to listen to their own internal voice when it comes to their body.
I couldn't agree more. The thing that I've learned the most probably through this process, and that will inform what I have to say about this next birth, and this is something I learned so early on when I got pregnant with Teddy, because I understood it so well, having such trouble getting pregnant. It's really their journey. It's really their story. And I was in full surrender to whatever that looked like. I have a doctor that has the lowest cesarean rate in all of Los Angeles. So if she's someone who had to come through as a cesarean, I trusted him on that. I trusted it because he works really hard to not have to have an unnecessary intervention like that. And I just was really in surrender about however she wanted to come through, rather than I know a lot of people go into it with a really focused plan. I was like, the plan's out the window. It's really whatever's in the moment. And I was in true surrender to that. And I'm in the same with this baby. And so to wrap this up, this pregnancy, it was really hard for the first trimester for me, harder than with Teddy, because in this one I had depression during it, hormonal depression. I stopped being active on Instagram. Like I just couldn't function during that time. I was so sick and stuff. So I think it definitely started setting the tone for, okay, this is his journey. I'm going to surrender into it. And just for context for people who are like, you had to do IVF the first time. So I did end up getting pregnant last year in October, naturally, unexpected, because I didn't think I could. And it was really shocking for me. I was not ready for it at all. And I felt so scared, and I felt like my time with Teddy alone wasn't done. And I had this moment, and this is a trigger warning for people, as someone who's experienced many, many losses. I had this moment where I communicated with the baby, and the spirit baby, and I just said, look, if this is your time and you have to come through, we will figure this out. Absolutely. But it would be so much more harmonious for all of us if we could just come back again later. And I had a really peaceful miscarriage. We were actually traveling in New York at the time, and such a trigger warning, but I just was so relieved and grateful. And it was so peaceful and such an easy pass. I've had many miscarriages in the past trying to conceive. So we did try, when I was ready to get pregnant naturally, quite a few times, like for quite a while, and it wasn't happening. And I did end up transferring this embryo and choosing a boy, which was fascinating because every psychic, baby reader, communicator, everyone was saying it's a girl spirit. And I was like, I would love to be a girl mom. I just love being a girl mom. I was an only child for 13 years. I understand that experience a lot. But when I would go to sleep at night and talk to the baby spirit, I would say, you tell me, what do you want to be? And it always was presenting boy. Whatever that ends up being, of course, that doesn't mean anything, but that was the gender of the embryo it was choosing. And so again, I listened to myself on that and I said, okay, it's your choice. It's your thing. So we chose a boy. And so far the pregnancy has been so easy after the second trimester. Being protocol again, I think it's just my body. Or maybe it's that I'm Irish. I don't know what it is, but it's very simple. Like I don't have the body aches. I don't have the constipation or the whatever. But I wonder what that would be like if I weren't on the Beam protocol. And then we do anticipate to do the same sort of birth plan again, if he's positioned correctly and everything. But I think Teddy's never had a night away from me. We co-sleep still. So I think I would be a little bit more motivated to not transfer this time, just to be with her, like have her around. So her and I are starting to watch animal birthing videos, and then we're starting to watch birthing videos and talking to her, like, do you want to be here? Because her grandmother will be in town and be her point person. And she's going through a humongous phase right now of like deep attachment to me, even though I don't think she's aware that it's because of the baby. Because we've been talking about the baby and reading books since the day I got pregnant. And she's actually really excited about it. But I think subconsciously because she's rejecting Max, she's rejecting everybody else, like so attached to me, pushing boundaries, just really feeling that transition that's coming. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how this goes. And we were driving yesterday because she'll only car nap. So we're driving. And I had this moment where I was like, if he's positioned well and all is well, maybe we do just try in Topanga based on my last birth experience. So who knows what's gonna happen. But yeah, that wraps up a really long-winded thing.
I'm so glad you shared it because we get that question a lot about what your birthing story was like. And I think having examples of what that play-by-play looks like, having expansion for other people, how to advocate for yourself and be able to understand what you need and what your needs are for the baby. And I also love the reframe of I'm not the one in control here. It's however this baby wants to come through. And I need to trust that they're showing me how they want to come through by listening to what's happening moment to moment. I think can give a lot of mothers a lot of peace and surrender in that process too.
Thank you. And I do want to acknowledge, like, my birthing experience is like unbelievably privileged. Like most people don't have access to everything that I just talked about. And it's really interesting because I always share about this, but when I taught at a preschool at 27, before I launched this work, I was so broke. And my partner at the time, I wanted to have children with him. He didn't want to, but I would have figured it out. But being at that preschool, I had this moment and this communication with the universe because before being a preschool teacher, never really wanted to be a mom. I hadn't had that desire. I was never the person who like dreamt about my wedding or anything. And I started to have that connection and that desire at the preschool. And I have such a vivid moment of standing there talking to the universe because it was a West Side preschool where everybody had access and privilege, and they could really provide their children with such a different experience than how I was raised. And I said, universe, if I'm meant to have children one day, I have to have this level of privilege to provide a very different experience than what I had growing up with two young 20-year-old broke parents. And I remember that, like that was my contract with the universe so clearly. And I have gone on to manifest it. It was very much me casting my list in that moment. So I wanted to share that piece. And I also wanted to share the second piece. My friend, a really good friend of mine, Jamie, who ended up getting pregnant at that time, that I wanted to have children, her and her husband got pregnant with their first child. And it was really beautiful to watch her pregnancy experience with her first child. And at the time, she was a bartender at the place that we used to serve together. And I went to go teach at the preschool the next year. So she was like 8 months pregnant bartending at this restaurant. And she was on Medicare at the time. So her whole birth, of course, was free, but she didn't have access to, like a Dr. Crane and a Dr. Gordon. But it was really amazing to watch her ability to navigate within the medical system, this wonderful, incredible doctor. I think it's at Sutter's, the hospital she was at. And it was a Swedish woman who had 5 natural home births herself. And she's obviously an OB providing this experience. And she had also a very phenomenal experience with this woman who was an amazing doctor who could advocate for her birth plan and her wants and needs. So I just want to express that if somebody's obviously not in the privilege and the position that I'm in on every level, as a white woman especially, it's just advocate for yourself and do your research. And I'm sure there are angels like that and resources out there that can help facilitate the experience that you desire.
I think it's really interesting that process and allowing others and your birthing team to take care of you in that moment. Because I think there's sort of this beautiful reparenting ability in those moments too, where it's like you allow yourself to surrender, you allow everyone to take care of you, and then it's like that portal right before then you take care of the new soul. It's kind of like a cool evolution in that moment too. And there's just so many more resources today, I feel like, that people are getting doulas or support here, or there's more people getting educated in it so they can support others in it, so you don't have to solely rely on the medical system.
Absolutely. And that's what we all did in the past before there was allopathic medicine. We had the midwives in the village and the sisters and the aunts and stuff. And it's really cool, even versus the 90s, how much more prevalent our society is starting to provide that experience.
1000%.
By now, you're starting to get the feel for TBM. Maybe you've heard about our workshops and you're interested in manifestation, but you just don't have the time or energy to sit down and do self-help work. We totally get it. In fact, that's why we created the Daily Practice, which is our massive library of self-hypnosis tracks that you can do anytime without having to jump into a workshop. We call these tracks our deep imaginings, or DIs. DIs are different than normal meditations because we designed them using a combination of self-hypnosis techniques, deep theta waves, EMDR-informed tools, and somatic experiencing. A fully loaded formula that is scientifically proven to help you clear your blocks and triggers on a subconscious level, giving you the power to actually create new neural pathways in your brain. So if your boss pisses you off, use our trigger DI. If you want to feel magnetic before a party or an important meeting, use the magnetic self DI. If you're feeling anxious or down on yourself or you need help making a decision, we've got a DI for all of these scenarios and more. You can get full access to the Daily Practice inside the Pathway membership, where you'll also get unlimited access to every workshop, tool, and offering from TBM. The tools in the Pathway membership will support you year-round, whether you're in the worst, a rock bottom, or second worst, a rut, or feeling good and you want to keep the magnetism going. In the Pathway, you'll effectively learn how to become your own manifestation coach, all for less than $1 a day. So even if you're not ready to start a workshop, join the Pathway and start rewriting your neural pathways now to create magnetism. Work through your triggers and get closer to your authentic magnetic self in order to manifest. Use our special code MAGNETIC, all caps, MAGNETIC, to receive $20 off your first TBM purchase. Again, that's all caps, MAGNETIC. Now back to the episode.
Okay, last question. We'll do a little fun one. What do you keep on your nightstand?
Oh, geez. Well, it's really lemon water, and I always have a bag of nuts around, salted nuts. So lately it's been pistachios. I always sleep with the Bon Charge eye mask every night because even in Topanga, there's a lot less light pollution, but there is still light pollution. And I sleep with earplugs plus a sound machine just because I am such a light sleeper since Teddy. And I've just arrived at the place where she sleeps through the night and we tend to get good night's sleeps. And I'm about to throw that towel completely down the drain, that's the thing I'm probably dreading the most. I'm going to dig deep for it. And then beeswax candles. I always have 2 because we only do candlelight at night, especially we read 2 stories at night before we go to bed. And we have a little ritual, Max and I, where Max is like what he's grateful for today, what I am, and then Teddy shares what she's grateful for. And we do a 3-way kiss where we all come in together and kiss, which is so sweet. It's so sweet. It's really kind. And what else is on my nightstand? Not much. That's the deal. I put my phone charged on the floor, but it's in airplane mode. And then there's the biomat is just next to my bed, mostly for my senior dog who stays on it all day. But what about you?
So there's like a shelf in the bottom part of my nightstand and then the top part. And the top part, I have a beeswax candle as well. And I have the Bon Charge red light lamp. because it's like a tap on, tap off situation. So it's really nice at night to just like lean over and hit it if you need some more light or for reading or something like that. And then I have a little dish where I put like if I have earrings or jewelry or my ring, I don't like to sleep with anything on. I want to be like fully just, I don't know, with nothing on. So I'll put all my like nighttime jewelry in there. I have the Bond Charge eye mask. That's kind of it. I like to keep it pretty clear because if it's like really cluttered, it's too much. And then the shelf in the bottom, I have like the stack of books that I'm like going between whatever I'm reading at night or something before bed. Women Who Run with the Wolves is just permanently on there because I'm always picking it up and doing a chapter. Recently, I've been doing like a little, not a tarot card, but I think they're like a crystal meditation deck or something, like intuitively pulling a card at night, which is silly and fun, oddly very spot on. And we have the bio mat, but it's at the end of the bed. And Theo's been sleeping on it. And it's off, like if we don't have it on, but he sleeps on it every night. And now he thinks it's his. He really does. And I think he thinks it's his bed. When I go to lay on it during the day, he's like, Mom, like, get off my bed. That's not for you. And I'm like, this is not your bed, buddy.
So he's not in a crate at night anymore. He's doing great.
No. Well, he was kind of sleep regressing in the crate. We had him in the other room and we put him to bed. But at a certain point, I think because we were going down to see Daniel's family because they stayed at the beach for a month every weekend, and he was sleeping in the room with us without the crate. So I think coming back, he was like, wait a second, why do I get the crate sometimes and then not others? This is inconsistent.
Yeah.
So he started just howling in the middle of the night. And after a week of no sleep, we're like, yeah, we're just going to take you in the bedroom. It's done.
And is he doing really well?
He's doing really well. He actually is sleeping way better than he ever slept in the crate. I think he just likes being near us, and he'll actually sleep through the night. And we're so lucky. Maybe he'll pop up on the bed in the very beginning, but he needs his own space. Like he'll go on his bed or the biomat or the rug. He'll just find a new spot, and he's constantly moving throughout the night. And it's so funny. We'll look over at him and he's just like legs sprawled, just out cold. It's so cute.
Oh, I love it. That's the best. It's so nice when they get to a point. Like we actually didn't crate our two border collie puppies. I was like, it was all the things like e-collars, all those things. I was like, no, I can't. And then you get 3 border collies and you're like, okay, someone needs to train something here because if you don't give these guys a job and train them, they're going to find really bad jobs. Their favorite being running into the street and opening all the trash cans and jumping into the trash cans and eating everybody's trash in the street. They're just so smart. And it was really hard to potty train both of those puppies up until like almost a year. And every trainer was like, are you crating them at night? No, we felt bad. And they're like, start a week, they were potty trained. They just didn't have structure. Yeah, it was really crazy. Whereas Pistachio, the Great Pyrenees, we got her at 4 months. And I'm actually like weirdly, intuitively a firm believer with dogs that they should stay with their moms a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, Great Pyrenees, they tend to leave them with their moms until about 12 to 14 weeks. And the moms will potty train them naturally, especially if they're outside farm dogs. I think she's had 2 accidents in the house ever. And we never had to potty train her because we got her at 4 months, and it's been a breeze with her. But yeah, it's really interesting. The crate made such a difference. And now they're obsessed with their crate. They love it. But it's also 6 dogs in a room together at night. So I think they actually like knowing that they have a safe space, that they don't have, nobody has to be the alpha or in charge or like fighting over territory or whatever. Like they have their own sacred little space. So they actually love it. But I bet if it was like a one-off dog, they'd be like, no, I don't want to be in here.
Yeah, it was definitely good and helpful for potty training. And it was helpful to get him to sleep through the night. I guess we probably took him out at about 7 months. And that's when now he's sleeping in the room with us. So
amazing.
But he's doing so good.
Such a good guy. Such a smart guy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. He's such a quick learner.
I mean, his, like all of those breeds inside of him, he's probably the smartest dog in the world.
He really is. And he'll do little clever things, like things that he knows he's not supposed to do. He knows that he'll bring a toy over with him when he's doing them because he thinks he's distracting us. And then when we're like, don't rip the carpet, he'll be like, oh, no, it's just a toy. Like,
oh,
I'm
my
chill.
God, so
like,
smart.
Don't worry about me. And I'm like,
wow,
buddy.
Wow, that's so smart. All the border collies are so smart in their own way, but it's been fascinating watching the Great Pyrenees because I guess she's, being raised by border collies, which no Great Pyrenees needs to be, but she's so smart. But she's so smart in different ways. Like she's taught herself how to open all the door handles and all of the doors. So anything she's really motivated by, she really teaches herself how to do in ways the border collies don't. It's just fascinating to watch. Their intelligence level is beyond me. It's crazy.
Yeah, Theo tried opening the doors and we had to shut that down really quickly. We're like, you're going to get out. This is bad. We're like, you can ring the bells if you want to leave, but do not open the doors.
Yeah, no, not going to happen. No, you don't need to be running loose in like the middle of Hollywood.
I know.
It's amazing.
Sweet boy. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys. It was so nice connecting. It feels like we're all like hanging out as friends. This is such a fun episode. We love to do these for our annual anniversary episode. And we just thank you guys so much for tuning in over the years. We love you so much. So excited for next year ahead, even more manifesting and insights and expertise. And thank you, Lacy, for sharing all of your birthing stories and all of that. I know that's a big one we get asked a lot, and it's a really beautiful one.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for facilitating this. This podcast would literally not be anything to the magic that it is without you. So thank you. Thank you. And I hope everybody has a beautiful summer.
I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as we did. And if you're starting to get a feel for this to be magnetic manifestation process, but aren't completely sold yet, let me point you to some of our free offerings. You can check out the expanded podcast episode called How to Manifest Anything You Desire, where Lacy, the founder, and I break down exactly what this process is all about. You can check out the Motivation, which is our testimonial library with thousands of testimonials of people who have manifested wild things using this process. Or you can check out our free mini workshop to find out why you're not manifesting and listen to one of our proprietary deep imagining audios where it's going to help you drop into your theta state and overwrite low self-worth limiting beliefs. Enjoy. We'll see you next week.